Welcome to Searching for History. On this episode, we're going to go take a look at the Fort Eaton site. This is another 1855 Indian War site, so come along and let's take a look. This monument commemorates Fort Eaton, which was built by settlers around here during the 1855 Indian War. Of course, this says 1856. From what I've been reading on the internet, it actually was built in 1855 and was abandoned in 1856. The fort was named after Nathan Eaton, who was the owner of the donation land claim at this location that the fort was built on. It's my understanding the fort was a square stockade and it had 16 log structures inside. I imagine it's quite similar to Fort Hennis, which we had a video on. I don't know this for a fact, but I have a hunch it probably had two bastions on opposite corners like Fort Hennis did. Probably something similar to Fort Nisqually. Not as big as Fort Nisqually, but something similar. Something to note is the Chambers Blockhouse is about 4 miles due west of here. It would be interesting to know if there is a blockhouse or a fort about every 4 miles. So that's something to kind of look into. And if anyone knows about that, please leave a comment because it'd be pretty cool to find out. There's nothing left of the fort except this monument, but it would have been right around here somewhere. It's a pretty big tree right there.
Yeah.
Could that be old enough to have been here when the fort was?
Maybe it was a tiny acorn.
I think that's an oak tree.
I think it is too.
So that's a pretty big oak tree. It actually might have been here when the fort was around.
The Willamette Meridian.
That's interesting. I think this is relatively recent. I've never seen this before. 1989. It's relatively recent.
Yeah.
While this monument doesn't have anything to do with Fort Eaton, it is interesting. It's showing where the Willamette Meridian, how it runs north and south through here. And basically, it starts in Portland, Oregon, and that's kind of the 0 point for the public land survey system. And then you have townships and ranges. When you deal with the townships, it's either west or east of this line. And then the whole state, and I believe Oregon as well, is all divided up into townships, and each township has 36 sections, and each section is a square mile. If you work out in the woods around here or any kind of land management, you're quite aware of the township and range and section system. William Ives, deputy surveyor, commenced the survey of the Willamette Meridian. See here, from the initial point near Portland, Oregon, on June 4th, 1851, passing this point on August 14th, 1851. He and his crew of 5 men surveyed the 110 miles from Portland to a point on Puget Sound, 8 miles north of here. So it's interesting to think that in 1851, a group of surveyors were out here with transits and a chain to measure chains, because that's how distance was measured. And they had to shoot a straight line from near Portland all the way to Puget Sound, and just kind of all out here by themselves. I mean, that would have been a wild adventure. So this would have happened 4 years before the fort was built. So when they came through here, going north, there was no fort at that time.
Well, there's nothing obviously old except this old oak tree here. But there's nothing left of the fort that we can see. But I like the idea that just a little ways from here is the Chambers Blockhouse, and so you get a sense of what the settlers were doing here in the landscape. It's also pretty interesting that there were donation land claims all around here. I think the surveyors that came out here in 1851 would have had to be pretty brave because there wasn't much out here. To be able to do that job would be really hard.
Well, that was our video on Fort Eaton. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned. There'll be more Searching for History on the way.
Don't forget to like, share, comment on this video, and please subscribe to Searching for History.
Thanks for watching. Here's a little Searching for History tip for you. There's times when you see invasive species that actually could mean you're in or around a homestead. And here's an example. We have English ivy here, and this could be from a nearby homestead where they planted this as an ornamental, and then now it's grown all through this forest here and up the trees. And so it's something to keep in mind, that if you see English ivy, fruit trees, different kinds of flowers, daffodils, things like that, they could have been planted and you could be in or around a homestead. Well, there's lots of molehills or gopher hills. I'm not sure what these are, but unfortunately I don't see any artifacts that have come up through the dirt. So, but it's always fun to look.
It's always fun to look.